right? You can instantly have however many hits and without even having to sell a record, and everybody sees it worldwide, but you made it for a certain sector of the population, but everybody sees it, right? So do you think that you have a responsibility, an artist has a responsibility as far as taking ownership, if you want to take ownership of the word and redirect it and redefine it, you know, can you actually do that? Is that like is that actually a reality that can happen, or is that just a cop-out and say, look, I'm saying it for this certain section of the community, but I don't give a damn who hears it anyway, right? Because you got white kids, you got Puerto Rican, you got Latin kids saying it, and it's like not really a big deal.
Well, you know, I came from a great line of people that took pig guts and made it into a meal. That's what black people do. We make something out of nothing. We make something out of nothing. Yes, we definitely do have a responsibility, but do I have a responsibility to manipulate how other people choose to interpret my music? I can't do that. But I kind of do my music in the same vein as Lauryn Hill said back in the day. She said, I don't rap for white people. You know what I'm saying? And with that said, I apologize to whoever that offends, but I don't do music for white people. I believe that black people set the trends. And whatever we do, other people clutch on to that and follow along. Now, like I said, the word nigga, we can get offended of it because of the thoughts that it brings up from slavery. But I like that. I love the fact that the word nigga is connected to slavery. Because once you give up the N-word, that is the first step towards white society sweeping the devilishment that they done in slavery under the rug. So with that said, not only am I a nigga, I'm a bad nigga, a super bad nigga, because I come in that same line of thinking as the bad niggas that came before me. Not the good niggas, not the niggas that did what they were supposed to do on the plantation. I'm talking about the niggas that poisoned the slave owners. I'm talking about the niggas that do slave revolts. I'm talking about the Dr. Khalid Muhammad's. I'm talking about the Minister Louis Farrakhan's. When people speak to them about them, when they're not around, they go, yo, that's a bad nigga. Now, some people mean it like, that's a bad nigga, a term of endearment, but then the white people, you still a bad nigga. It has a totally different meaning, but either way, I'm fine with either one. Super bad nigga.
Okay. Yeah, okay. We're gonna get anybody that wants to ask a question or has a different perspective. After this, you can Brother Joe, you can just go to him. He's got the microphone if you want to say something, if you have something to say, and if you have the courage to say it. But I mean, you know.
Super bad.
I mean, you know, and I get it. I mean, you know, I'm a huge hip hop fan. Grew up on it. You know, we went through the Nas thing, right? Where it was his album. That was the name of his album. That was the name of his album, and but he had to change it to straight in. But he kept his song. He kept his song on there. I mean, even it goes further back. And I say hip hop because that's the reference that I have as far. I mean, we know the historical, the '60s and things like that. But I mean, contemporarily, you know, we all listen to Tribe. Tribe had a song, a whole song. Yeah. Okay. And I mean, it's like I guess it's among hip hop heads, it's a popular song.
And I agree with everything he said in the song.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, right? I guess they're taking ownership of it, explaining it, and saying exactly how they feel about it. And I guess, you know, you got, but you do have a certain section, and it's not just white people. You got African Americans who not necessarily older. You got a group of African Americans who I would would be scared to say the word around. I wouldn't dare say it just because of the negative reaction you were getting. You'd be looked at, kind of crazy. Like you definitely should not be in the same space that I'm in by saying that word. I mean, because you just have that, and you have it's tough to overcome the negative connotation of the word, regardless if you got, what the positive spin you want to put. You want to be super nigga, you want to be whatever, right? It's tough. It's tough, or super bad nigga, right? What you said. But it's tough to overcome that negative connotation, because it's like, you put, if you wrap something up, the spoiled, if you wrap it up in silk and put a bow around it, it still is what it is, right? And people got that perspective, and it's going to be totally, you're never going to change that perspective, and that's going to be it. What do you say about that?
I say we just had the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington, and it was a beautiful thing. And guess what?
None of them probably said nigga, and they probably was against nigga when they had the first march 50 years ago. Now let's update it. It's 50 years later, and they marching for the same thing. No disrespect to my elders, but those folks are really marching for the same thing, and the unemployment rate is higher than it was 50 years ago. So with that said, all I'm saying is that the answers to the problems of the black community don't revolve around the word nigga. If we all stop saying nigga right now, what would it do? Would it make your white counterparts respect you? Would your white counterparts jump up overnight and go, I respect him, he never said the N-word? That's not realistic. Our problem is more deeply ingrained. I like to hear what the queen got to say. You can take my mic.
I can definitely say I appreciate what you say, and I appreciate the knowledge that you're bringing, and I've learned a tremendous amount from you with just these few moments that you started. However, I'm raising 2 children, and if they use that word, I'm going to treat it just like they use any other expletive, because I don't want them going anywhere using that word. So but I definitely appreciate what you say. I also think, as you talk about how there's different words, I think about how the definitions of words have also changed over time. I mean, my daughter has been interested in listening to musical theater songs lately, so I've been buying them and we listen to them in the car. And in 3 of the songs, it talks about being gay. And she's never asked, that's just not a conversation that we've had, but to her, because of the context that word is used, she will think that gay means being happy, because Maria in West Side Story is talking about feeling pretty and gay. So words do change. The social context of words change over time. The definition, because Webster's dictionary is a social creation, it's a human creation, so we change and we give words additional definitions, but the meanings of words do change over time. And I can definitely appreciate and respect that. So you really enlightened me tonight. Thank you.
I agree with you 1,000%. I agree with you 1,010%. But I agree with you because you said words change over time. What I think that we as black people in America need to do is we need to take control of some of the definitions and how we define things. Because when you allow others to control definitions, they end up controlling your reality. So even when I said nigga, the N-word rather, I think we should use it as a holy term of endearment in the terms of, it's not for white people to say. No, I'm gonna call me your nigga. I'm not your nigga, my nigga. I'm like N-I-G-G-U-H to my nigga. You know what I'm saying? But it's not, you feel me? And that's why it's a holy word, because people outside of that religion, outside of that culture, wouldn't be able to say it. And I have a 2-year-old, and I definitely agree with you. I'm not finna go home and tell him, look here, it ain't that. That's not how we're gonna play it. That's not how we're gonna play it. But I do think that part of black people going to the next level in America is we have to think outside the box. We have to use our own definition, and we have to find out our own way to create our own reality.
What about? I'm gonna get to you, Sean. What about? What about? Okay, you said because you keep bringing up stuff that makes conversation. Okay. You said white people are not allowed to say the word.
That's correct.
Right? That's just like a given.
Straight up. Straight up. Everything ain't for everybody.
That's true. And I guess they'll find out one way or the other.
I think they already know.
Because we got Sean was saying. Okay, there was a lawsuit in New York City, right? That was brought about an individual, a female.
Yes.
There were two females that were working. They had a black supervisor, right? And they sued. They take the conversation.
Yep.
And he was saying something about, you're acting like a nigga. And I say this not it's not a derogatory thing, but it's just the way that you're acting, right? And they said, and I guess it was supposed to be like an in-house conversation. They take the conversation, sued, I don't know if it was state court or federal court, but one of the ladies got $280,000, right? And she was interviewed, and it was kind of weird because her I think it was Mark Lamont Hill and somebody from CNN were having a debate. And really the lady, I don't think it didn't sound like she took offense to being, the offense she took was being cast as like one of those type of people. It wasn't, she knew, it seems that she knew he didn't mean it. Right. It's the same term as if a white person would say it to her, but she didn't want to be looked at as one of those type of people. And like lazy, the connotation, shiftless, whatever. And but she won the lawsuit, and it was against an African American individual. Right. So I guess it goes to what I was talking about, and what we both talked about. You say it's white people, it's not. They know or should know that it's not for them, but you do have a section of people, African Americans, who just don't tolerate it.
So look, I definitely hear what you're saying. But, Grand Canyon someplace. But, will this conversation be different? Because you're an artist. I get that. So the N-word in your genre is a big deal. It hypes up the crowd, it gets people going. But would it be a different discussion if conscious, and I'm not saying you're not conscious, but I'm saying let's be real, conscious ain't mainstream. What's mainstream nowadays is I'm gonna sell a lot of CDs. If I talk about how much dope I sell, how many women I have sex with, how many pistols I got. But if conscious efforts were mainstream, would we be having a different discussion? And then also, and just another question I have, it's one thing for us to say, man, this echo is really freaking me out. It's one thing to say that the N-word doesn't bother us, right? Let's not allow it to be offensive. Let's not allow it to have power. But and again, I'm not throwing jabs at you, but I'm kind of curious as to how I can hear you say that. I was following you, but then you say, well, at home, my son, that don't play for my son. But if it doesn't play for your son at home, then how does it play in the larger context of when you having these type of conversations where it's not offensive? So I just want to throw that out to you.
Run that question to me one more time, big bro. What's the question one more again?
So it was actually two questions. Will this conversation be different if conscious efforts, in other words, if people they could really capitalize off of their creative efforts and it be positive nature? If we could walk around and not throw the N-word out, not talk about how much drugs we're selling. In other words, portraying ourselves as this ignorant. Will we have a different dialogue? And then second, that's one part. And then the second part of that is after I heard you respond to Dr. Lawrence's question, you were like, well, no, not at home, not my shorty. But if that's the case, then how can you say to us, well, we got to use it, in essence, you were saying we got to use it as a term of endurement, but it can't be a term of endurement if it's not okay for your shorty, or, I mean, and I'll leave it there. And again, this ain't about jabs at you, but I'm just hearing the conversation. I think it's a good dialogue. So I just want to throw those two questions at you. Or do I need to hold
I have understood what you're saying, but I think at one point.
Hold on, which point did you not understand? I clear it up. Which point?
Run it one more time.
What I'm saying is, which part of what I asked did you not understand? Because you said that I have understand what you're saying. So which one did you not understand?
I'm lost. Run it back.
Man, this guy. Okay.
Tell me what you're saying. Okay. Another language.
I was clear. I was saying, I'm real clear. Okay, did anybody else understand what I said? Okay, so what I'm saying is, nowadays we talk about mainstream creativity. If we're gonna talk about rap music, then what we have to be brutally honest about is that the folks who really make the big money aren't the people who are really being conscientious about our community. So that's, I said, would this be a different conversation if the people who were making the big money were the ones who were really promoting positivity? That was my first question. And my second question was directly towards you, to you, when you responded to Dr. Lawrence and you was like, well, at home, and then maybe I misunderstood you, but I thought you said that while the N-word can be considered a term of endearment, that's not acceptable in your household when you're talking to your son. Right. That's all I was asking. Was that clear?
I feel what you're saying. I mean, I don't have no problem against you, brother, man.
No,
Let him finish, man. Sean, let him finish. Nobody's making for anything. Just let him finish. Let him make his point. He's not being rude. Yeah, we understand it. Let him make his point.
No problem, big bro.
He just asked, how can you say nigga is cool, but then when your son is there, you say, I ain't gonna say nigga around my son. How is it cool here, but it's not cool with your son? So how can you explain that?
Well, I can. I'm gonna let him talk. Well, I'm gonna let him talk. Did they have the ingredients? Yeah, I mean, I think we can come from the same. Now, I can't speak for Father John, but my perspective, I'm a father. That's my wife. We have the same children, right? So, look, I mean, I'm guilty. I listen to old school. If you ask me who's rapping now, I don't know. Okay, I listen to Biggie. I listen to Nas. That's my favorite. And they say nigga in their lyrics, right? When it's my son in the car or my daughter in the car, I listen to Frank Sinatra. She likes Come Fly With Me. She likes whatever else. I don't listen to that. She likes Kids Bop or Dance, whatever, I don't know, Dance Disney, right? And some of that's crazy, but I don't listen to that. I think if you're a parent, and this is my perspective, I'll let you can answer. My perspective, if you're a parent, I don't think it's out of the question or out of the ordinary as far as listening to the music, as far as we do a lot of things with our children that we do when we do with our children. Then no, as far as I don't agree with the mass communication of the word nigga. I don't agree with it, right? But when you put it to a beat, it sounds okay. Yeah. That's the truth. It's the truth. When you put it to a beat, it sounds okay to me. Okay? But no, I mean, and sometimes I listen to the song, I'm into it, and my kids are back there. And I hope they're not paying attention. But I know they are paying attention, and I try to turn it down. And there's no excuse for it. I'm guilty. I'm guilty as charged. But I'm gonna still listen to what I'm gonna listen to. If I pull up next to an old black person, I'm gonna tell you, I would be more ashamed if I had my window down and I pull up next to an old black couple and they saying nigga, 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 than I would if I pull up next to a white person. That's why, I don't know. That's just a feeling that I have. I mean, I would be ashamed. I would be equally ashamed, okay? I would be equally ashamed. But it would be more important to me to carry some type of, some semblance of respect for an older black person just because of the historical perspective. But that's just me. You don't have to be me. That's just me. I like music. Okay.
Alright, I was DJing an event for Macy's like 3 weeks ago. I've never been more ashamed of my catalog of music than I was that day in front of a room. I was in the women's high-end retail section of Macy's playing music, playing radio-friendly music. And every time something came on, I was sweating bullets. Ooh, I was playing top 40 music and I was still sweating. Flow Rider, who I would never be riding around in my car listening to. And I'm still thinking, please don't say it, please don't say it. Because I'm thinking, it's embarrassing. Like, our music in certain instances is embarrassing. I could be at Cole's, nothing's embarrassing. What I'm saying on the mic is probably, crazy. But you know what I'm saying? When it comes down to that, we have to take some ownership of that. But one thing I want to say, what you were saying, like, white person say nigga, this, that, and the other. It's kind of like with me and my brothers, if my pops is acting like a bitch, I'm going to say, man, I was acting like a bitch today. No, I don't want to offend nobody, but I mean, that's how it is, and we talking to each other. But if you came up with like, man, your pop's a bitch, I'm going to fight you. Them is fighting words, and that's just being realistic. So some people can say it, some black people get offended when somebody they don't know calls them nigga. You know what I'm saying? So we can have a conversation, nigga this, nigga that. And you come and say, hold on, bro, you don't know me like this. You know what I'm saying? So it's just the context that it is. I think it's kind of how it's being perceived. All y'all have Instagram, and everybody's putting niggas be like. I feel some type of way when a white person put that on there. Light-skinned niggas be like. And I'm thinking, somebody posted one that said, and white people say, light-skinned and dark-skinned niggas all look alike. So why y'all saying that? You know what I'm saying? Y'all look like niggas to me. So you gotta think about what you putting out there, because at the end of it all, you can't, I don't know, I can't really justify it. I can't say, yeah, I love the word nigga, but then when I get around some people, I'm ashamed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I guess that's the good thing. He's got the microphone. I'm a shout
Two things. When I was younger, before I really started getting into business, I used to look at myself like a light switch. In other words, if I was doing business, like say with some white people, I was gonna always make sure I never use the word. I talk with my professional, use all my verbs and nouns right, dotted my I's, crossed my T's. And then when I get relaxed around my people, if the word came up, not that I chose to use it, I was okay with it. I may even slip and use it myself. I looked at myself as a versatile person. Not a lot of people I felt could do that. Some people are just hood all the time, or they just proper all the time. Sometimes we as black people, when you're proper all the time, you're looked upon as being corny. I felt I could turn it off and on. Now that I'm a little bit older, I do try to avoid the word, and I try to stay out of crowds that use the word on a regular basis. But I'm around a lot of different types of people. I'm in real estate, so I'm around a lot of white people. Unfortunately, they own the banks, and that's who I get my money from. So some of that still carries on, but ironically, I sell 90% of my property and rent 90% of my property to first home buyers, or if they're Section 8, 90% of them are black people, predominantly black women. So I still find myself cutting it off and on, even though I would rather not. I would rather just keep it, off and not use the word at all.
That was the first part of what I was gonna say. Then I had a question for the entire audience.